Two ships sunk, 9 crew members dead, and the Houthis are back with a vengeance in the Red Sea after months of relative calm. Yemen's Iranian-backed rebels are again targeting international shipping, threatening global trade and testing U.S. deterrence. Chuck Holton reports, followed by our conversation about this after the break.
In less than a week, the Houthis have sunk 2 commercial ships in the Red Sea, the Magic Seas and the Eternity Sea. The second attack was especially brutal. After striking the vessel with a drone, Houthi fighters boarded the ship, opened fire inside, then planted explosives on the hull. Most of the crew is now missing. Many believed dead or taken hostage.
We've had a substantial loss of life. 9 crew members we know of have been killed on board the second vessel. What they do is they force the crew to abandon ship, and then they board the vessel, and using explosive charges will sink the vessel.
These attacks are part of a broader campaign the Houthis claim is in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. The timing, though, suggests something else could be driving the escalation. Not long ago, the Trump administration quietly signaled that Iran could sell oil legally to China, undercutting the Houthis' role in Iran's smuggling network and possibly their funding.
If I were to venture a guess, it has to do with Netanyahu being in Washington and with the fact that, of course, Iran and its network of allies has been taking a bit of a beating in the last couple of months.
After pausing major maritime attacks since December, the rebels have returned aggressively and with deadly effect.
They've also really expanded the idea of what constitutes an Israeli ship. Any ship in a company that touches Israel in any way makes all the vessels in the company susceptible to attack.
The broader impact is already being felt as global shipping companies reroute to avoid the Red Sea, costing more time and money.
You know, because of the attacks, about 40% of the shipping that normally goes through in terms of vessels have routed around Africa. That represents about 60% of the total cargo. Remember, about 15% of world trade heads through this area. So you're talking about maybe about 10% global trade now having to divert around Africa.
Here at Eilat, the empty port that you see behind me represents a loss of tens of billions of dollars a year to the Israeli economy. Before October 7th, this port used to see 250,000 vehicles come through here every year, as well as agricultural products and minerals from mining. And it only took a few months of attacks from the Houthis before they had to declare bankruptcy.
Despite all this talk about the ceasefire with the U.S., the attacks on Israel continued. But indeed, we haven't seen any real attacks on merchant shipping since December last year. And they're back with a bang.
I think the kinetic response by both the United States and the Israelis at this point is not producing the results they want. The only thing that produces a result in this type of scenario, historically speaking, what we've seen happen before, is one, a blockade of Yemen that cuts off the importation of these weapons into Yemen. The problem with that is the people who will suffer from that is the population of Yemen.
What we're also seeing from these attacks is, of course, that they still have the capability. So despite the intense aerial attacks by both Israel and the United States since the beginning of the year, that has not been enough to deter them from attacking merchant vessels.
Although on the day of the Eternity Sea attack, no Western warships patrolled here, the presence of naval assets likely isn't enough to calm the insurance market.
The big problem here is that because of the risk posed by the Houthis, the insurance, the war risk insurance to sail vessels through, really preclude the shipping companies from wanting to come back. And as long as it's cheaper to go around Africa than through the Red Sea, those ships are going to keep going around the longer route.
Until the Houthis are neutralized or the region is made secure, global trade through the Red Sea remains at risk. From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.